Well, this is the base components of the little drill press that I've been restoring. And it's quite interesting. Now I've got it stripped down. Obviously you can see I've got the base over here in its vinegar bath. And I've got all the other components stripped down. I think that the only original parts that are in all of this are the main drive pulley, the column and the column nut. I don't think any of the rest of it is original. And we'll have a close look at that. The base plate isn't cast iron, it's actually steel. I was wrong about that. And it was very rusty, particularly on the underside. So I am going to clean it up and using the vinegar to de-rust it when it's doing a brilliant job. And then I'm going to paint it with some Rust-Oleum, same combi colour paint that I used on the Craftsman drill press, which I'm very pleased with. It did a brilliant job. You can paint that on rust, but I prefer to remove the rust and then put the paint on afterwards. So let's have a look at these bits here. So, as I said in previous videos on this is an actual wooden pulley which someone has, I think, made. I don't know why that was done, but yes, anyway. And there was this gear, which I'm you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing any of the, I'll probably throw the wooden pulley away, but this gear will be quite useful to keep, and all the bits I don't use will go on my scrap bin. Then there was this collar, but the reason that really made me think this is this thing here, this bracket. Well, I mean, that's just been welded up, and as you can see that the hole for the, I've pressed the bush out of the top here, but you can see that's been drilled completely off center, and this is just terrible. This central bush here, well, I don't even know how to describe that. I mean, the whole thing is completely cocked. It's just horrible. This base plate here has been hacked off of something, I don't know what, and then welded onto this triangular piece. And look at those holes. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is just scrap. That whole piece is just complete scrap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a brand new bracket to mount this pulley on, and I shall probably get some 6mm 1/4" steel plate and make a right angled bracket using that. And that will do fine for supporting this main pulley. I'll make a bush up to go into it to support the shaft, and then this pulley will be on one side, and then there'll be another pulley on the other side which will go to the electric motor that I'm going to use. Haven't decided what I'm going to do about that yet, but that will come later. Now, if you needed any further convincing of how effective vinegar is at removing rust from steel, just look at this. It's been in there a couple of days now. I've given it a couple of wipes over with a brass wire brush, and that's what most of that rust sitting in the bottom is. But it's nearly ready to come out. I'm going to give it one last scrub, and that'll I'll show you what it's like when I take it out. So here's the base plate. Now, this was completely encrusted in rust when I put it in. It's now nearly all gone. There's a little tiny bit here. This is where it was really badly pitted on this edge. The top wasn't so bad, but it was pretty rusty, and it's pretty much all gone now. You saw the bath, well, it was completely full of rust. Now, unfortunately, this base plate is one of this kind of shows you the limitations of not having larger machinery. Ideally, to make this base plate good, I need to stick it in a mill and run a fly cutter or a face mill over it, and that would skim this surface and get rid of all of these rust corrosive places, particularly on the base where it's really bad, and just flatten it off. But my little mill is not up to that. There's no way that it could cope with this. I will give it a go on the belt sander, because the belt sander is my new one, pretty powerful, pretty meaty. Hopefully that'll take some of that down. I can clean the edges up with a file, but it would be nice to have a proper full-size mill, or even a medium-sized mill would cope with it. But I'm definitely going to reuse the base plate and this pulley and the two bolts which hold the original angle plate, but onto the base. But I'm definitely going to make a new plate to mount that pulley on. So that's where we are with it at the moment. Well, I've got the base finished. I'll bring you in a little bit closer on the base so you can have a look. I'm quite pleased with how that turned out. As I said previously, really it needed to be put on a full-size mill, and either used a fly cutter on it or a face mill to flat it off. But I used my belt sander, and I think you can see that it did a pretty good job. Obviously, the belt sander isn't, you know, it's not aggressive enough to get right down into the really deep pitting, but it certainly cleaned up the sides, the edges really nicely on the base there. So I'm quite pleased about how that turned out. So that's all pretty much done now. Oh, if any of you are interested in the paint that I actually used, I'll show you. There we go. Yeah, Rust-Oleum Combi Colour. Now, I've used this before. I used it on my Craftsman drill press. That was brush painted, but they also do aerosols. So I thought, well, it worked out really well on the drill press. It's great paint. It's but you can spray it directly on bare metal. It's got a primer built into it. It takes a while to dry, and it does go on quite thick. But that's really what you want with the metal. So yeah, so I can recommend this. I was really impressed with it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the base. It's all done. So it's starting to look halfway decent now. So yeah, so I think this will be it for this part, and then in the next bit we will move on to the bracket that sits on this end and the final drive pulley.